Heartburn, bloating, anxiety, shortness of breath. I've had it many times and it does not feel good. We're talking about GERD and the hiatal hernia. This is really common nowadays. I wish it wasn't, but it's pretty common when we don't slow down to take a deep breath and slow down and eat while we're relaxed. Our stomach gives us these messages. It was given them to me. It's obvious. When I hear those messages or I feel them in my body, that body part needs some love. In this video, we're talking about how I healed my own GERD and hiatal hernia through some of these kinesiology hacks, nutrition, and being mindful of my stress patterns. Back to the basics. We're talking about the basics of how humans are made. We are structure. We are chemical. We are emotional, and we are electrical. So we have bones and muscles and organs. We have our blood flow and our hormones. We have our mental and emotional reactions, and we have our nervous system and other reflex systems like the acupuncture system. So let's get to it. Structurally. So look at this. We're going to look at the anatomy of the stomach and the diaphragm muscle, and you can see how our esophagus actually comes down through this little sphincter muscle inside the diaphragm. The diaphragm muscle is this big dome-shaped muscle. You see it in your rib cage right here. It's the divider between those two different regions of your abdominal cavity. So your lungs are up here and your stomach's down here. When the diaphragm muscle works properly, then it's pushing the organs down, and you'll see the belly rise with that good inhalation. So the diaphragm comes down, expands the lungs, and the belly goes out because it's pushing the stomach out. And it relaxes and comes back up when the stomach goes back. So good belly breath is our diaphragm's working properly. And we'll see the organs getting massaged with that diaphragm movement. Now you can see how when there's a weakness in the diaphragm muscle, then that little sphincter valve that should be pinching off the top of the stomach and closing off the esophagus, there's an issue here. You see there's a weakness in the diaphragm. That's where that muscle is. It should be strong enough to close that little doorway to the esophagus so we don't get that GERD, that acid reflux coming back up. If that's working, then we've got good muscle function around that area. There could be another reason why that's not working, and that's normally due to stress or some posture or a chemical, like I said. You see, when we don't have enough acid in the stomach, our hydrochloric acid, which begins to deplete as we age after 40, we're not really producing the same amount, so we need to do something with our diet to keep that acid up. When we don't have enough acid, then that little sphincter valve at the top of the diaphragm sort of stays open like a thermostat. If there's enough acid, it tells it to shut. If there's not enough acid, it easily can stay open. Here's the catch. In Western medicine, what do? You go to the doctor? I've got some acid reflux, because you're feeling the symptom. It's true, maybe that little doorway's open. And what do? They give you an antacid. The opposite of what needs to happen. If we raise the stomach acid, the door will shut. If you take less acid, you're leaving yourself susceptible to bacterial infections that should be addressed in that stomach acid. And now you're taking away your guard, basically, by shutting down the acid production. The diaphragm connects to the front of the spine. And if we go a little bit further down, we can see the psoas muscle also shares an attachment at the spine with the diaphragm. And a really cool portion of that way upper portion of the psoas muscle, you can see it comes way up and actually merges into the diaphragm and wraps around a piece of that esophagus. Wait a minute. So a tight hip flexor can cause GERD. Yes, an emotional reaction of anxiety will affect the kidney channel and affect the psoas muscle that's related to kidney, and pull tightly down on that to try to guard something. It's built into your nervous system. So how do we address this? Well, we could strengthen the diaphragm. We could strengthen the psoas muscle. If we're going to strengthen the psoas muscle, we might want to strengthen the glutes, the opposing muscle, and we might as well strengthen the abs at the same time. This did a lot for me. When I strengthened my oblique muscles on the side here, that helped push the rib flare down a little bit, so my diaphragm sat in a better position right here. So I had a better dome shape, okay? With a rib flare, it's pretty obvious when people have that flare sticks out, that's weak oblique muscles. We need to strengthen the obliques right here on the side. That'll pull the rib flare down. Naturally, you have a stronger core, and allow the diaphragm to sit in the position it's supposed to be in so it can work. That was one of my fixes by exercising my obliques. I strengthened my obliques and my diaphragm worked better. Amazing. Okay, that's the musculature. The fix here is the position of the actual stomach, and you see how we have the diaphragm and the esophagus here. A hiatal hernia is no more than a piece of that esophagus is pulled up on the other side of the diaphragm above where it needs to be, and sometimes actually pulling a piece of the stomach up with it. So here's the fix. We actually have an exercise from kinesiology, and you might have seen this in some other modalities, but this is the fix, a simple stomach pull down. You can do this for yourself. What we want you to do is find a comfortable space to sit down, or you can lean back against a wall. I prefer to lie down on a table with a bolster under your knees. This puts a little slack in your stomach. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our hand or your thumb, go to the end of your sternum here and find that little bone, that's your xiphoid process. Go down below that and to the left a little bit. This is where the top of your stomach is. So you're right under your rib and right in that little space right there. If it's really bothering you, that's probably gonna be really tight and bloaty feeling. So what we're gonna do is lay down, push in, and then we're gonna push down towards the feet. 10 times. You push in and down, in and down, in and down. Do that 5 to 10 times. Breathe slowly. After about 5 or 10 times, you'll feel that it's most likely a little softer right there under the rib. It's a good thing. That means we've moved that stomach down, and that's pulling the esophagus down through the diaphragm a little more, okay? Once we've done that, we've moved the stomach. Now we need to strengthen the diaphragm muscle so that sphincter valve can work. So there's a reflex right here on the sternum. This is a lymphatic reflex. See right here? All we're gonna do is rub briskly right on the bone, find the tender spots. This is a reflex that helps the diaphragm work better. Okay, so we rub that for about 10 seconds, right on the breastbone. And then we have some right along the ribs, all along here. This actually helps with the small intestine as well. So we're affecting just beyond the stomach a little bit more, the duodenum. And remember the diaphragm attaches right behind these rib areas. So we're gonna rub the rib margin all the way down too. Rub that for about 10 seconds. Now, if you can, we're gonna do a psoas stretch. There's many ways to do that. You can do simply a deep lunge, that helps, or you can lie your leg off the side of a table and let it passively lengthen and stretch that way. And then we're gonna activate our glutes. This helps with strengthening the psoas too, because the coupling force, when the glutes are strong, the psoas can be strong too. Here we go. So do that a few times, feel that glute work pretty good. If you want to go for a long walk with some long strides, that's going to elongate this area and allow for more space for that stomach to move up and down. Okay, now we're talking about the chemical portion. Low acid due to age. Say over 40, we don't produce the same amount of stomach acid, so we need to do something to keep that acid. We need the acid to break down the amino acids out of our food so we can absorb the nutrients in our intestines. So proteins should be broken down in the stomach. If they're not, we're not absorbing. If you have gas, That's what it is. It didn't break it down early enough in the digestive tract, so now it's reached the intestines and it's fermenting. It's still food. It should not be a food at that point. It should be chyme. It should be really dissolved, so we're just absorbing the nutrients at that point. That all comes from the acid in the stomach. Think about this one factor that comes in on your food a lot, a bacterial infection called H. pylori. This was the game changer for me. I needed to address that. This is the cause of ulcers and malnutrition for a lot of people, because this bacteria can come in on your food and then stick onto your stomach lining and just hang out there and burn a little hole in it sometimes and keep that production of acid low because it wants to live. So this is the thing that I did for myself, and actually is a really cheap fix. One, I started eating more cabbage. It's like $1 for a whole head of cabbage. Sauerkraut and raw cabbage. You can juice cabbage. You can just put it in your salads. Cabbage, cabbage, cabbage. Great for ulcers. This is another one. Mastic gum. If you can see that. Mastic gum. I think I got this one from Amazon. Wasn't even that. I think it was $10 or something like that. Gum from a tree. It's a resin from a tree. You can get the gum and actually chew it. That's great. You can get the pill, take it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning, and that will actually coat the stomach lining and kill that bacteria. That was a game changer for me. This was like my second bottle. Haven't taken it in probably a year. I just keep it around just in case me or somebody else needs it. So those are the go-to to kill that H. pylori up front. Mastic gum, cabbage. I use this company in office, NutriWest. This is a hydrochloric acid supplement to boost the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. That helps a lot of people. Actually has some bile salts in it as well for the gallbladder. Since we're talking about that, this is another one that has helped me. Tudka. Talked about this in a couple other videos. So Tudka. This is a synthetic bile salt. Helps with bile production in the liver. So now we're just got that upper portion of the stomach working and pulling things down so the stomach can easily go down in that direction too. We're talking about our food combinations and good enzyme profile in our food. So if you are preparing your food on the stovetop or in an oven or even on the grill, that's great. But if you microwave your food, that has been known to alter the protein molecules and destroy the enzymes and the vitamins in your food. So you are really nuking your food, and it's not the same food when it comes back out because you've killed a lot of those enzymes. So when that happens, then you've got to recruit enzymes from your pancreas to try and fill in the gap. So if you've got bloating or low bile production, I would avoid the microwave at all costs. Try to eat real food and stop destroying the enzymes in it, because that's what we're trying to help your body produce, okay? Also, eating while stressed. We know when we're in fight or flight, it's not important for the stomach to producing the acid and enzymes because our blood flow is out in our limbs so we can run away or fight the tiger. It's not important to be eating at that time. So if you're eating during stressful times, of course you've got lower production of enzymes and acid at that time. Take a break or skip the meal, or figure out a way that you can hack into yourself to slow down and then have a meal while you can breathe normally. All right, really quickly about the mental emotional component with the hiatal hernia, because remember I mentioned it, anxiety, fight or flight, and things like that. The diaphragm relates to the stomach only because it's sitting right there. In kinesiology terms, we believe the diaphragm relates to the lung. That's what it does. It helps the lung inflate. So we have emotions that relate to lung, which would be guilt, regret, openness, grief, those things. Stomach emotions relate to feeling satisfied and content. Every emotion, big emotion, is going to affect right there in your solar plexus. You can feel that knot in your stomach. That's the fight or flight. You shouldn't be eating during that knot, okay? Let's talk about our nervous system and the vagus nerve connection here. So now we know the three different versions of our stress response because of polyvagal theory now. We have the rest and digest, the fight or flight, and the freeze shutdown state. We have what we call resilience when we can easily bounce back from a stress. So we're about being flexible enough to know that we're in stress, but know that we have strength and flexibility enough to come back to rest and digest as soon as the stress is over. That's resilience. And then we're really not calling the stressful event stress anymore. We just know that we're got heightened energy and we get to relax again. Your body really doesn't know the difference though. Your stomach will do the same thing, whether you're happy and excited or you're mentally anxious and stressed. It doesn't know the difference. So if you're exercising, it's the same thing. It's difficult to eat while you're running. You're in fight or flight. You're flighting, you're running, and you're exercising. So the same principle goes there. You see, our thoughts move our body into action. Your body does what the brain tells it to do. If the brain gets it wrong, it's the body's still doing the perfect job. It's following directions from the misinterpretation. So it really is about controlling our mental state. There is hope. Our conscious mind is the ruler. You do have that part of your brain that gets to turn around and talk to the subconscious and the nervous system and override that response, but you have to be mindful of it. It's hard to do it in the moment, I know, but the more you practice it, and you can practice some of these techniques, the easier and easier it gets. And then something just breaks through one day where we're not having that reaction anymore, and we can look back on that moment and go, I finally grew out of that and I'm resilient around that subject now. So here's a couple ways that we can use that mindful approach and hack ourselves out of the stressful moment, so then we can do the exercise and move the stomach and the diaphragm along with it and be mindful of our diet, of course. 1, we can always reframe the situation. This is our fix. Now reframe the situation. If you've got some type of mental reaction, you just feel stressed. We've been through this. I've been through stressful times where that knot in my stomach had me not eating for a week or two, and I could not fix it. It was difficult until the stress passed, and I finally did something about accepting it and reframing what I thought was life-threatening, which was just a mental stress. Reframing it. Ask yourself this: what else could this mean? There's always another way you could think about it. Or, what can I learn from this? I know this is making me stronger. What can I learn from this? What else could this mean? Reframe it. 2, you can do a basic nervous system reset with a vagus nerve exercise. So simple. This is a really simple one. If you wanted to add this to your diaphragm exercise while you're laying down and pressing down on the stomach there, I would add this to it. Lay back, clasp your hands, lay on your hands, lay back, and keep your head forward and turn your eyes lateral. Look to the right side. Keep your eyes there until you feel that big breath come along. And it's almost like your brain finally told the diaphragm it's safe enough to take a deep breath. Good. Sometimes it's the first breath, sometimes it's the third breath. Stay there until you feel like, that's better. And it's neat because your belly breath just comes right back. That's a quick vagus nerve hack that we can really reset that nervous system response. Reframe, use that vagus nerve hack, pay attention to diet, do the exercises for the muscles, and don't eat while you're stressed. Okay, to sum it up, that's kind of how I did it. Now my lifestyle just circles around keeping that body part working. I just know that if that's not working for myself, and for humans basically, if your stomach's not working and it's in the wrong position, you're not digesting your foods and you're eventually going to be malnourished, and all those mental states start to come along with that. If you're not feeding your brain, it's easy to feel depressed and anxious. Okay, I hope that helped. I know it helped me. And this is a more common condition than I wished it was, but we are where we are in the world today with all of our processed food and high stress. Let's slow down and take care of ourselves and control our stomach so we can feel satisfied and content and get on with the mission. All right, I'll see you in the next video, guys.